Broadcasting live from the Greater Perimeter, it's time for Greater Perimeter Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
This episode of Greater Perimeter Business Radio is brought to you by Connect the Dots Digital. When you're ready to leverage LinkedIn to meet your business goals, go to connectthedot.digital. Lee Kantor here with Rachel Simon, another episode of Greater Perimeter Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. Who do you got today, Rachel?
We are continuing our conversation a little bit from last month. We had a great guest talking about, recruiting and the job market, and I'm really excited that we have another expert in this area that we're going to look at it from a little bit of a different perspective. So today we are welcoming Katharine Bremer, who is the managing director of Boardwalk Consulting and the author of the brand new, hot off the presses book, Headhunter Confidential, The Unwritten Rules for Landing a Job You Love. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and Boardwalk Consulting, and then we're going to dig into the book a little bit deeper in our conversation.
Great. Well, first of all, Boardwalk is based in Atlanta, but we work nationally. And, our let's say Atlanta-based clients include, CDC Foundation, Greater Atlanta Community Foundation, Piedmont Park Conservancy. We do foundations and nonprofits, and we've been in business since 2002, founded by a partner from a global search firm, and we serve mission-based organizations, and our mission is really finding leaders that matter for missions that matter. I am 18 years at Boardwalk, and prior to Boardwalk, I had 4 other careers, so I'm in my 5th career. I've been on both sides of the hiring desk, and I realized that if I shared what I know about the unknown rules of finding a job, that I might be able to help some folks. And there's a lot of people looking at new jobs and looking at new careers right now. So my goal is to help them, whether they're just starting out or they're, struggling through a layoff that they didn't deserve, but just getting back in, or they want a new adventure. So that's my goal.
I love that what you said, that you're on your 5th career, because I think sometimes people, think that they have to stay, in certain verticals, and that's not the case at all, right?
Right. And I think a hybrid background really gives you a lot of different experiences that inform each career as you go forward. And my big belief is that every time you make a job change, you want to get more of what you love that animates you and gives you joy, and less of the things that you don't love. And so self-awareness and an internal journey is very much the first thing you do in a job search.
Right. So we should be up-leveling, right?
Yes. And you should be thinking about, what gives you joy and what animates you and what contributions can you make based on your strengths.
Yes. Nothing's worse than feeling like the life is being sucked out of you when you go to work every day.
Yeah. And so many people, Rachel, suffer through that. Like 70% of folks are not in love with what they do. Oh. And you spend 8 hours a day doing it. So you might as well enjoy it.
Exactly. Tell us about your book, really, and the inspiration as to why you wrote it, and then who should be reading this book.
Well, the inspiration was that I work with, hundreds of people and help them, guide them, right? And I've seen what works and what doesn't work. So I really want people to be able to find their way to something great. And so I was inspired, given all the stories that I had to tell about real life stories about what works and doesn't work. I was inspired to put it into a book, and, so the 6 unknown rules, unwritten rules that really can guide folks and keep them from doing things like redundant applications online, dealing with, and being defeated by applicant tracking systems, and finding their way to something great.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to give away, all of your secrets, because people should read the book, but maybe we can talk about a couple of what these unwritten rules are. What do you think would be one of the, top tips for our audience?
Right. So, and, you asked me who it's for. I think it's for anybody starting out, recovering from a layoff or wanting a new adventure. And I really encourage people to want new adventures. Don't leave until you have your next adventure, but keep keep your vertical curve really, vertical, right? You want to keep learning every single day. So I think 3 things to think about. Number 1, don't jump into a search without doing an internal journey first. And I have some really simple, enjoyable exercises that help you know, who am I, what are my animators, what are my strengths, and what do I bring to market. The second thing is, don't apply, to a lot of stuff online, because it's all about people. And people are everybody's sustainable advantage. And you've worked with people, you've known people, you have folks all around your life. Maybe you volunteered with them, and they will want to help you. People do want to help. And so that's strategic networking, not spray and pray, not going and, to tactical stuff, but really building relationships. And then the third thing that, is important is that it's not all about you. When you get into a job search, it's about them, at least initially. So, I had one person that I was helping, and he said to me, it's been 2 years and I can't seem to get a job. And I said, well, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm telling them all about my background and they don't understand how it all works. And I said, well, stop doing that. Just tell them what you know that attends to their mission, and give them examples about what they need. It's what they need, because they're looking for the match.
There's so much that you said that resonates with me, with my approach, how prior to the role that I'm in currently, having run my own business, focused on helping professionals on LinkedIn, very much about, this is not about you, it's about your target audience, whether that is potential client or customer or a potential employer, right?
Exactly.
And that value, you just cannot underestimate the value of your network and relationships.
Exactly.
For everything. I mean, your network is everything.
It really is. And I'm always amazed at how few people pay attention to their brand, and their brand is on LinkedIn. So I'm sorry, that's your brand identity. It's your website. And if you don't update that, you're really casting, your fate to the wind, because everybody's going to go there. And that's where they look to understand you, and to build that network, but also create your brand on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Now, what is kind of the work that a person should be doing every day in order to get their next gig or whatever their next opportunity is? Is there some kind of just basic work every day that a job applicant or a person that's looking for a new career should be doing in order to have that opportunity kind of present itself to them, rather than just waiting, for the lottery ticket and say, hey, where have you been all my life?
I love that question. I think growing every day, learning every day, if you find that you're not learning. So for instance, I worked in advertising for 11 years in New York, and I was on some of the big brands and all that. And I came to a moment in time where I was waking up every day and I didn't really want to go to work, and I felt like I wasn't learning and there was not something new, no vertical learning curve. And so that's when I made the decision that it was time to find the next thing. And how did I find that? Well, first I did that inside analysis, right? Who am I? What can I do now? And then I also talked to many people, right? I talked to advisors. And, Lee, if you want to get a move out of where you are and you want people to help you, ask for advice. If you say to somebody, do you have a job that I could do, or do you know of a job? The answer could very well be no. Okay. But if you say to somebody, would you be willing to give me advice and tell me what you do? That answer is generally yes. And in that way, you build your relationships, and those are your sustainable advantage. So every day, grow and build relationships.
Yeah, it's a great point. And thinking about how this applies to so many job seekers, depending on where they are in their career, right? So whether somebody's, coming out of college and just building those initial relationships, and as a parent of one and almost now 2 college students, helping to set my kids up with people in the industries that they're majoring in, so that they can just start to have those informational conversations. Because who knows where that's going to lead to internships or jobs down the road, or to your point, wanting to make those pivots and thinking, well, who do I know who's in my network who might be someone who will talk to me.
Right.
And most people will always say yes.
I think about it this way, once you know generally what your direction is, right? Don't just start and spray and pray, Start with maybe 2 or 3, I think of them as buckets of opportunity, right? Where might you go? And then who's going to help you get there? You would be amazed at how many people starting out say, I'm not calling these people my parents told me to call. Or my aunt told me to call so-and-so and I'm too shy to do it. Or, I'm an introvert. I can't do that stuff. I'm going to start applying online, and it is not going to work. And so I tell the story of Gordon, who, got out of school in the middle of a recession and got some folks that he was going, you got to call so-and-so, such and such. He was a music major, so that wasn't easy. And after 6 months of futile applications online, finally made those phone calls, ended up working at Lincoln Center.
Oh, pretty nice.
So that's how it works. And people are interested in helping you, especially if you genuinely go ask their advice. And it's not just, superficial. I'd love to know what you do. I'd love to hear about it. And you're genuine. They're going to want to help you.
Yeah.
Is that strategy the same whether you're just like right out of college or you're 50 years old and just got laid off? Is that the same? Is the fundamentals the same?
It's fundamentally the same process. And it starts with, I'll give you my overall unwritten rules start with mindset, making sure you've got the right mindset. We can talk a little more about that. Second thing is that internal journey. And there are some very easy exercises to do to discern your direction. The third is, who are the people who are going to get you there? The fourth unwritten area of rules is, how do you figure out the bullseye of the job you want so that you can put your background in light of their bullseye? And then the fifth is really standing out. And the final one is loving the journey. If you love the journey, you love the people, and you cultivate that journey and do well in it, you'll get there. You'll get to the right place.
So now the network we're talked about is super important, understanding who the right people are to contact. Do you start with individuals or do you start with kind of the company? Like a lot of people in their head, I dream of working for ABC company or XYZ company, and they think that it's almost a fantasy of what it's like there, but they don't really know what it's like. Mm-hmm. Is it good to target the company, or then if you pick that company, then you kind of drill down to who do I know or who knows somebody that I know that I can at least, even if it's not even in the department that I'm interested in, I can at least kind of get a glimpse of what the culture is like or what it's like to be in that company.
Yeah, and it's such a good point that you want to go in warm. You don't want to just apply cold to something. So you want to find people in and around. So let's say you have, a few companies that you're interested in. Now you're on LinkedIn, you're doing your research. Otherwise, in every way, you're going on websites and you're figuring out, who do I know who can either, tell me about the organization, or they're already in there. And you're looking at a way of going in warm. Obviously, once you're in, you have to win the job yourself. It's not like somebody's going to get you a job. You will get your job, but you want to go in warm, because remember this, the metaphorical stack of resumes. And now there's AI systems that will put your resume into countless openings. It's crazy, and you don't hear anything, and you feel like you've gone into a hole, and it's terrible for your self-esteem, and it's terrible for your results. So, just affirmation. Yes, find people, find out about the organization. And some cultures are frankly toxic. You don't want to work just anywhere. You want to work somewhere that it will value your abilities and that will fit with what you can really contribute.
Tell us a little bit about sort of the way the systems are working today, because I want to kind of flesh out a little bit what you talked about relating to like the applicant tracking systems and sort of helping the listener understand why, applying cold through LinkedIn or through the company website is going to be a much longer journey.
Right, or a
Right.
futile even. Almost, any organization of any size is going to be using applicant tracking systems, which are looking for keywords. So I really commend you to the idea, and this gets into the bullseye. Figure out what the keywords are. If they say we need someone to manage, X, don't say I've managed Y. Say I've managed X, right? Be truthful, always truthful. But who am I in light of this opportunity? And again, so if you have to deal with those systems, you're going to be dealing with them on their terms, because they will just throw you out cold if you don't use their keywords and you don't seem like you're in the zone. To that point, also digging down and giving them, tangible results that make these systems say, oh, they've managed X and they have results, right? So they grew it by X, or they did this. Don't just talk about process, talk about accomplishments, but in light of what they're looking for.
So it's tricky. It sounds like, to know exactly what those keywords might be, the way to structure it. Because
they're in the job description.
Right. I guess, though, correct me if I'm wrong, that like your resume can be kind of put into the discard pile for any number of reasons, right?
That's what the ATS is for. It's to eliminate and, to get it down to a manageable number. And again, with the new AI, methodologies where you can apply, to 22 people in a minute, the number of applications is only growing.
Right.
So, and I think, people are there are robots interviewing people now. So look at the darn job description. And you don't know everything from the job description, which is why you've got to warm it up. You've got to learn from others, right, that know about it. But the job description will be a screening basis on their part.
Right. But some of these job descriptions are
generic,
very generic, or, again, going back to like people who are coming or newer in the job market, entry-level jobs that are looking for 3 to 5 years of experience. Like,
right.
It's kind of silly.
Headhunter Confidential, right, demystifies that. And it tells you, yes, like a finance job, right? There are certain things you got to do. But what it teaches you, or what the lessons that I've learned, is how to discern what the bullseye really is, and to understand that. And then you're going to be tailoring your resume. You're not going to be throwing around a generic resume.
Good point.
You've got to stand out.
Yeah, good point.
So if you're looking for an opportunity, what percentage of your time should be spent on these kind of mass, applications versus targeted, I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, introductions and worm, those kind of conversations with a human? Like, how would you spend your time?
Right. You want to do research, Lee. You want to understand stuff. So you're going to be going on websites. You're going to be looking at, profiles, right? But I would say if you can spend as close to zero of your time doing online applying to jobs, I always think doing the homework is going to matter. And when you're in an interview, you really want to have done your homework. And that's why, instead of spray and pray, you want to be quite intentional. What are the places that I could make a difference that will attend to my personal desire and mission and animators? And that can be corporate, it can be government, it can be nonprofit. It doesn't have to be any one thing. But who am I? That who am I journey is the one that many people think, I'm just going to skip that and start applying. And it will work so much better if you have your opportunity areas and you really know who you are and you know the value that you bring, and you can show that in light of the aspirations of whoever you're interviewing with.
So let's go back to something you said a few minutes ago about mindset, because I know from people in my life who have been looking for jobs or things I'm seeing in, online groups that I'm in. Some people are looking for 6, 9, 12 plus months. That can be very demoralizing. So
it really can. And if you are in a layoff, due to no fault of your own, it can make you angry. It can make you sad. It can make you depressed. So I think that what you want to do is try to work your way through that with your close friends and associates, right? So you have to get to the other side of those feelings in order to effectively look for work, right?
Going into a interview feeling angry is probably not.
That's probably not the
best.
right mindset.
No, definitely
You have
not.
to go through the stages of grief before you begin the job search.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I had a call one time from a person who had been laid off unfairly. And she was really, and not only was she angry, but she was very upset and she cried. And we had a really good conversation. And of course, I empathized with her because it was unfair. She was out of work. She was really worried and she was a single mom. And after we hung up the phone, I stewed about it for a couple of days. And I thought, she's really going to be disadvantaged as a job seeker unless she can kind of work that out of her system. And I called her back and I said, I'm very worried about you. And I want you to really talk to folks that are close to you, maybe talk to a counselor, but you have to sort of clean your gut out. And then you can start thinking about where you're going to, right? A lot of times if we're leaving a place, we're thinking about that place. Now when you're a job seeker, you've got to be thinking about where are you going and where do you want to go?
Right. I can, people are very good at picking up on subtle cues. And I can imagine in an interview, if a question comes up about someone's former employer where they maybe did not have the best parting experience, those negative feelings can come out, whether it's intentional or not.
Right. And, I really don't want you to burn bridges. I want you to, always keep the relationship. But let's just say it's been a bad parting. Let's just say that you are mad. And let's just say that you have like issues. Nobody's perfect, right? There's no perfect candidate. So when you're in an interview and you have an issue, let's say you've been out of work for 3 years. Maybe you had a sick parent. Maybe you had a baby or whatever. And it's been 3 years since you were in a job. I recommend inoculating yourself from that question. So usually an interview will start by, tell me about yourself. And what I want folks to do is to essentially create the conditions under which you've explained that away. It's gone. And now you're not going to be asked about it. Right? So I'm done with my 3 years. I helped my mom. I did this. I did that. I'm really raring to go now. And, that way they don't ask you later, tell me about the gap.
That's a great point because lots of people do have those gaps on their resume, right? Whether they were, to your point, being a parent, caring for a loved one, just having a challenging time finding their next role, depending on what industry they were in, right? Some industries are just having a tough time right now. And so crafting that story in advance kind of puts you on the offense.
Right. And it inoculates you. So you're communicating in a way that now we're talking about this job, this time, and how I might be able to help.
Yeah. Good point.
So let's talk a little bit about Boardwalk. Who is the ideal client for Boardwalk?
We do mostly CEO searches, but reports to CEO. So we work largely with boards of directors or CEOs that are hiring, but we work exclusively with nonprofits and foundations. So the ideal client is a mission-driven organization that is looking for a great leader. We go very deep. We are a boutique, so there's 12 of us, and we're going to be hands-on. We'll look to understand where you are and what you aspire to do and where you're going. And, often you're hiring in the gap between where you are now and what your aspirations are. So we do a lot of stakeholder research with your staff, your board, your clients, and your donors. To be sure that we understand, where are you? Where would you like to be? And the leader who's really going to take you forward is one who has done many things, will meet you where you are, and can take you where you need to go.
Now, are the people that are at that level on the nonprofits and those purpose-driven organizations that you serve, Are they coming from other nonprofits, or are they coming from maybe traditional industry or just for profit, and then they're transitioning maybe to that second chapter or third or fourth or fifth
Right.
chapter in their career?
That's a wonderful question. And this whole, issue around purpose and purpose-driven, which I deal with in Headhunter Confidential quite extensively, is important. And you can be anywhere now, and you can have a dream of making a difference, perhaps in human services or in other ways, in justice-seeking organizations or organizations that are educational. And so you may come from corporate or government or nonprofit sector. And, there's no limitation as to who we, want to talk with if you can be the right person.
Yeah. And in the conversation that we had prior to this call or this interview, you did mention some of the local organizations that you've worked with, but you do work nationally.
Most of our work is national.
Yeah.
So our home is Atlanta. We love Atlanta searches, and we do a lot of them. But nationally, our clients include League of Women Voters and, Leadership Conference. We've worked with ADL. We've worked with, Save the Children, Heifer, we Sierra Club, many, many organizations nationally, as well as Atlanta area leaders. And it's a privilege to do this work, honestly.
Yes. Well, based on who I know you've placed in Atlanta, you've done a great job putting the right people in the right seats.
Thank you so much. It's our mission.
So if somebody wants to learn more and connect with you about Boardwalk or get a hold of your book, what is the best way to connect?
Well, I'm all over LinkedIn right now. I just had a book launch on Tuesday, and but I also, I'm at Kathy at boardwalkconsulting.com. I'm very accessible. I talk to lots of people all the time, so I welcome anyone who would want to order the book. Obviously, it's on every bookseller list, Amazon, you just go to Headhunter Confidential, and we're number 1 in interviewing, and I think number 2 in job hunting right now in the new releases. So we'd really be excited if you liked the book and wrote a review.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today. You're doing important work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. It's a blessing to do the work. Thanks so much.
All right. This is Lee Kantor for Rachel Simon. We will see you all next time on Greater Perimeter Business Radio.